Winter, not winter. Hello, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming at you to do a Blu-ray only review because I reviewed the movie of this early, I think in the spring of this year, not even knowing that this was going to end up on Blu-ray in the fourth quarter of the same year. I'm coming at you, since I already reviewed the movie, I'm coming at you to simply review the Blu-ray only of Berserker, recently released on Blu-ray by Vinegar Syndrome. And you'd think, based upon my, based on my review of the movie, you'd think I wouldn't necessarily have picked this movie up. Ended up coming out, and I just couldn't resist it. I was ordering something on diabolicdvd.com anyway, Parasite Blu-ray, so I'm like, I think the shipping's the same. I think it's just $5 for, one or maybe 2 or 3 items or more. I don't know. Maybe it's just flat shipping, $5 for everything or whatever. So I'm like, well, since I'm ordering, the Parasite Blu-ray, why don't I just get this? I mean, freaking Vinegar Syndrome knocks things out of the park. It's like an outdoor woodsy movie, which would look so great on Blu-ray. So to make a long story not as long, I ended up picking this up. And I would imagine the slipcover is something that's probably, I would imagine, is limited. I'm not a huge slipcover guy. It doesn't really matter to me, but I guess it's kind of an added bonus. There's the back. There's the side. Is that upside down? Yeah, it is. Front. I mean, how cool is this? Like, if you saw this in a Blu-ray shop, not that there are barely any around, but that cover with this on the slipcover, this lettering is bumpy, or whatever they call it. So the cover looks so cool. And then when you take the slipcover off, of course, you've got this image, and it is similar. In a sort of a way. This is the original Prism VHS cut down for a clamshell thing. It is similar to this, although for the video they took out the tent and people in the tent and put the Berserker face thing there. This is the original Prism VHS. So obviously it's probably, the artwork is very similar. I probably prefer this tent artwork, although it is misleading because I don't think, well, no, the only people to stay in a tent are the older people who end up dying at the beginning of the movie. So it's kind of misleading because, there aren't anyone who in the movie sleep in a tent. But as always, I'll show you the special features of this Blu-ray, newly scanned and restored in 2K from its 16mm original camera negative, a family affair, interview with the writer-director Jefferson Richard, which, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's interesting, to kind of hear his, whole Hollywood story, if you will. It's always more fun for me, like when you're hearing from someone that, like Charles Band, or someone that you already know, kind of have a rapport with, in the sense of just knowing about them and seeing them forever. I mean, seeing a guy for the first time and talking is just like, but whatever. For those of you who might be interested, it's kind of cool. Beware of Bears video interview with actor Joseph Allen Johnson. Of course, he's the guy from Slumber Party Massacre and the main kind of star in this movie. And I think that was probably my favorite interview, although the interview with the other thing you got, the other feature here is Valley Girl interview with actress Shannon Ingman, or whatever the hell her name is. That interview is kind of cool too. She's all full of life and energetic and all this stuff, so I mean, that's okay. Audio interview with actor Mike Riley. He's the guy who played the Berserker or whatever. That's, okay or whatever. Stills gallery and reversible cover artwork and English SDH subtitles. So I will say that obviously, as is expected, the image quality, what is this? Yeah, it's 185, obviously DTS HD mono. Obviously, as expected, the image quality of this Blu-ray presentation is absolutely fantastic. It's really cool when you got a title like this that I don't think was ever on DVD in any kind of form whatsoever, so it's really, really a treat on these kind of rare occasions when a movie goes from VHS, completely skipping DVD, and comes out on a Blu-ray, in particular a Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray. The image quality is absolutely amazing, and as I said earlier this year on my reviews of like Bloody Birthday, and then I also said in my review of the recently released Arrow Video version of Hills Have Eyes Part 2, it's like, take a bad movie and give it a really slam bang transfer, and this is a perfect example of it, just like with Bloody Birthday and Hills Have Eyes Part 2. Take a movie that might not necessarily be that great, although I've said many times about Hills Have Eyes Part 2 from, you know, the Wes Craven one, that I grew up with it and love it. But, you know, take a movie like Bloody Birthday or, you know, Berserker. Well, Bloody Birthday is probably more entertaining than, well, a lot better than Berserker. But take a movie, okay, we'll start over. Take a movie like Berserker that might not really be all that great on its original VHS release because it's all dark and just you can't see anything, and then put it on a Vinegar Syndrome 2K, you know, brand new 2K scan of the movie, and it's going to be so much more enjoyable to watch. Although I do think even watching this, you know, Blu-ray version, I still think that, you know, the smoke is like way overdone. Why? There's some scenes where it's like it's almost just white. Like why? Whose decision was it to have so much freaking smoke and fog and all this crap? It's just kind of dumb. I think one of the people actually said that part of the reason for all the smoke was because, like, what the smoke was, the fog or whatever the hell was made out of, would actually kind of sedate the bear and make the bear a little less aggressive or something like that. I don't know if that's true or just a bunch of BS or an excuse for the fact that they put too much fog in this movie. But I will say, you know, if I can do a very, very, you know, brief kind of, you know, review of the movie, having rewatched it again in this version, I mean, oh my gosh, like, just, I don't know, the last 30 minutes of it are just so, oh, even in this pristine version, it's just like, oh my god, it just like, I don't know, how they can do 30 minutes of such little happening or whatever. And when you actually watch the movie, I think when I reviewed it, I couldn't remember how many people died, but having seen it again, it's like, I think the only body, you know, the only people of the main kids who actually die are the two girls, and the guy who gets mauled ends up like getting up, and I think he's like alive, and of course the star guy is alive, and the guy and the girl, so like 6 of them go out and only like 2 of the girls die and the rest of them live, and it's just like, I don't know, it's just, let's face it, it's really not that great of a movie. And to be honest, I mean, the Blu-ray, I mean, even the pristine quality of the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray doesn't really even make the last 30 minutes of this movie much more livable, withable. But I mean, like the first half of the movie or whatever, you know, I mean, it's a lot better, and it looks so much better on the Blu-ray, of course. One thing I will complain about with the audio, the image is absolutely amazing, but I do have some issues with the audio, and this occurred right when I started the movie. Right when I started it, I had to turn the volume a lot. The music was all loud, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to turn this down a lot further than I normally watch Blu-rays. And I'm like, that's kind of cool, but that was only cool until it seemed like the music was loud to the point where it might have been actually kind of distorting, and I don't know if this is inherent to the original mix or whatever. But then I was really surprised when the first dialogue scene came up. I'm like, oh my god, that's all quiet, and I had to turn it up to hear the dialogue. So I think it kind of goes away. I think it kind of goes away throughout as the movie progresses, but at the very beginning, and I think maybe for possibly the first, you know, fourth or first third of this movie, like when there's music, you got to turn it down because the music's really loud, and when there's no music and talking, you got to turn it up. So that, I don't know, I mean, I don't remember that being an issue on the tape, so I'm not exactly sure what the deal is. I mean, it would have been very easy for Vinegar Syndrome to simply adjust, you know, the audio, make it quieter when the music, you know, was happening, and make it louder when the dialogue was happening. So that was the biggest negative takeaway from this Blu-ray release, is just like, oh my god, why are there such, you know, audio variations between the music scenes towards the beginning of the movie and the dialogue scenes. So that's my biggest complaint about the release. But other than that, it's a slam bang release. I mean, special features, I guess, leave a little to be desired. With this particular release, you get a Blu-ray and a DVD in case you want to bring the DVD with if camping out in the wild with your portable DVD player. Of course, I think there's portable Blu-ray players as well, but if you don't have one and only have a portable DVD player, you can take the DVD of Berserker with you when you're going camping with your hot girlfriend. And as so often is the case with a release like this, you've got reversible cover art option, you've got this cover art option, or this one, which as you can see they're very similar. The only difference is this one's got this writing on here, which I can't read on the viewfinder because it's like backwards mirror thing. It says, "It's too late to run, there's no time to scream, just close your eyes and pray to die." So, I mean, you can pretty much, you know, I don't know. Both covers are fine. Very, very, very similar, as I said before. You know, mine, of course, I would imagine this is limited. Mine, of course, came with the slipcover. I mean, it's so funny how you've got 3 covers and they're all basically just the same thing. It is kind of cool, though, on the back of the slipcover how they put that little thingy back there. So, what do I think about the release at the end of the day? I'd say I don't regret getting it. It's really a thrill to watch these 80s horror movies that were basically, you know, pretty much still unknown horror movies. I would imagine this awesome Blu-ray release of this title obviously is going to get this movie much more, you know, known and much more in many more people's hands and stuff like that. And that's so thrilling, you know, because when I reviewed this movie in the spring, probably not a whole hell of a lot of people knew anything about it at the time. I think this is pretty much the only video release of it, and like I said, when I reviewed the movie this spring, I would have never known that I'd be reviewing the Blu-ray later on towards the end of the year. So that's kind of exciting. As I said, the movie, oh man, like the last 30 minutes, just like getting through it is a little bit of a chore. And like I say, the audio, you know, the audio anomalies towards the beginning of the movie on this Blu-ray presentation was kind of a bummer. You'd think Vinegar Syndrome, like I say, I mean, it would have been really easy to adjust that stuff when you're making, you know, when you're actually making the disc or whatever. So I don't understand why that anomaly exists like it does or whatever. But yeah, I can't say I regret getting it, and I can actually see, you know, revisiting this movie from time to time during the summer months or whatever. So, I mean, you know, if you haven't seen this movie and are on the fence about it, I don't really know what to say. I mean, maybe you can see it on YouTube. Just be warned, like the last half of this movie, I don't know. Go watch my review of it if you haven't seen my review of it. I mean, it's, you know, there's cool things about it, but then at the same time, it's like really kind of boring. Maybe the last half of it. So whatever. It's just I couldn't not support Vinegar Syndrome and their recent release of it. So I guess we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for watching this video, and as always, we'll catch you on the next one.